Where, Betty? Okay, awesome. Thanks for coming. Okay, back here in the purple. Minnesota. Oh, do you know some of one of our favorite people, Rafael Ruggiero from Minnesota? You need to. You do. That's awesome. Oh, we got one more in the front. Go ahead, Arizona. Tell us about you. Yes. That's awesome. Oh, that's fantastic. So they want to do full feature films or in-house stuff. Okay, gotcha, gotcha. There's a lot of stories to tell that you could do. It would be amazing. Yeah. Okay. All right, Christine. Check, 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 check. Okay. Yes, and out of Houston, Texas. Okay, Khaki. Awesome, awesome. Back row. Oh, great. We always need people who write songs for films. That's awesome. Next, Colby. Well, you're telling me stuff I didn't know. That's awesome. Ta da! That's fantastic. Okay. Nice, Brady. Awesome. Nice. Well, we need both of you desperately in the industry. All of us creatives love people that say they're on the business side. Okay, we'll switch over to the back side. Who do we have? Yeah? That is. Yes. Go and learn and explore. Oh, that is awesome. We're excited to have you here. That's amazing. My son loves Peru. He disappears there for months at a time. He love it. Okay, over here. Yes. Oh, that's so great. Perfection. And where are you located? Oh, I love Thomasville. It's so beautiful. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. And we have a bogey in the room. Those of you that have been on set understand that term. My husband's looking at me like, what? That's my husband, Kelly, not in the industry. And he's like, what does bogey on set mean? But we're so glad that he is with us as well. Okay, Kate. Oh, wait, I missed. I'm sorry. Purple. I'm sorry. Yes, yes. Miss Canada. Yes. Awesome. Yes. And you are too. And you've directed as well. And she's only 16, people. Okay. Nice to have you. Where are you from? Oh, I love Noonan. That's like if you ever need small town USA, Noonan's the best place to go to. It's perfection. Okay. Wonderful. That's amazing. Okay, you need to get with the composers that are in the room. Charlie. Talented Charlie. and great at all the things. Yes? Hi, Clint. Where are you from? Oh, I just passed through there on my way home. So that's close to the Shreveport, Louisiana, right? Like, I thought I remembered it. Okay, good. Yes. Wonderful. Okay, awesome. That's amazing. Where are you out of? Idaho. Isn't that where our baby's from? I think our puppy came from Idaho. That's awesome. Oh gosh. Okay. That's awesome. Who was on set with us last time that was from Idaho? Somebody. Man, it's one of I'll have to think about that cuz I was like, you don't hear that every day, right? You just don't. Okay, I'm going to have to think about that. And we missed you. Oh, that's not I grew up in Dalton. So Chattanooga was my lifeline because there was nothing in Dalton at that time. So it was either Atlanta or Chattanooga. So know your world great. That's awesome. Well, I am so excited to have all of you with us today. We're going to talk about the godly perspective of directing. And yes, we'll get technical and get into some great things that will give you some new skill set, hopefully. But also it's, when you talk about having a godly perspective to directing, it's about you may be the top person, but you need to look at yourself as you're at the bottom of the chain and you're there to serve. So, with a servant's heart, you're going to set everyone on your team up for success. You're going to encourage them. You're going to collaborate with them. You're going to hopefully bring out the very best in them. And you need to understand their gifts and talents because if you do, then you'll be able to explore and take things in directions that you may not have been able to. For instance, on Into the Spotlight, we had a DP that was a beast at Steadicam. So my shot list went out the window, and all of a sudden there's this new world of doing everything with movement. Everything. So it was 90% of the movie was single cam and it was all Sam. And because of his gifts and talents, we went that direction. It was great for the film to have that much movement. And we were able to just swing through our days so effortlessly because we could get exactly what we needed because we could go from a medium shot to a close up with just a push, and so we could get all the coverage that we needed. So when I talk about looking at each individual key person and then their team and finding what you have, this last film, we had an influencer. I don't remember Gabe's last name. Do you remember? Gabriel Brown. So, yes. No, it's great. I should have gone to you for housekeeping. Thank you so much. You're so awesome, and I'm sorry I forgot housekeeping. So she's graciously our attendant here for the day and here to meet all of our needs. So hopefully everybody's cool. Everybody's good. It's a little hot. It's a little warm in here. Well, but it's good. So anyway, so we had Gabriel Brown on set, who's an influencer, but when you Google, I had no idea. He was already cast for this film, and I had no idea who Gabriel Brown was. Well, as I looked him up on Instagram, I'm like, he can do all these impressions like crazy. Like he can just do them one right after the other, right? Like Christopher Walken, and then he's Elmo, and then he's, it's like insane what he can do. And so I'm like, okay, I just have to give him a moment to shine because why would you have access to that gift if it will organically work, obviously, with the film, just take advantage of that. So we made a moment. It was right after your scene. We made a moment where he could do several impressions and show, highlight a little bit of his thing. So it's finding all those things that can bring out the very best in your team. I think all of you have probably been on film sets that are great to be on and then not so great to be on. Is that everybody's kind of in that world? Sometimes it can be very chaotic, and other times it can be very peaceful and calm. So as a director, you're setting the tone, and you have to realize that from the day one, moment one, you're setting the tone. When you first call your cast, when you first meet with your key people, when you're first casting the vision, like, you just need to go into it with so much grace, peace, energy. You need to be an encourager, an edifier. You want these people to believe in their talents, but also be able to bring the best for you. So if you'll go into it with that mindset and leave behind, this is my territory, don't step on my territory, right? And then if you recognize that in anyone on your team that's kind of having a hard time, like, this is my territory, don't touch it, it's great to have a conversation and just remind them, this is a collaboration. This is how God works. This is how we get the best out of everybody, right? So everybody has a voice at the table, and we want to honor all those voices. So if you can do that, it will set a great tone for your set. Everybody will be at ease. Everybody will feel good about what they're doing there. They'll feel confident that you want them to be heard and to be able to, like, come to you with great solutions. We always want to be the make it happen people. So if you're having a day and it's going a little slow, then everybody needs to think through, how can we make this day go a little faster? If your G&E team already has the scene lit that you're working on now, can they bounce away and go start working on the next one? Who can prep for the next one? Can wardrobe and makeup be already working on some other people? It's staying ahead of the moving train, because as you know, it is a moving train on production. So once that train starts, there's no delay. You have to stay in front of it. You have to stay on top of it. So, and pre-production can be kind of crazy. I'm curious on budgets. Like, who has worked over $1 million on an over $1 million budget? Nobody else? Okay. Who has worked on a $500K budget? One more. Okay. Who's worked on, like, micro budgets? Like, we're talking about 100K and under. So y'all are wearing, like, every hat possible, right? Okay. Number one, this is a great place to learn, because you're stepping into everybody's shoes. You're probably directing, producing, writing, doing all the above, editing, all these things, right? Well, the great thing about that, as painful as it is, the great thing about it is now you understand what it's like to be in each other's shoes. So because I'm a writer and producer and director, I never fully take off any of the hats, right? So when production comes to me and says, we can shoot this out or we can take an early lunch, and I'm looking around going, well, we have 100 extras. We should probably shoot it out, because then we're not feeding them, So, I mean, that practical hat, like, never goes away, right? And when, my DP asked for, like, we had an ask from our DP on the last film that it was going to cost an extra $7,000 to get one shot. And I had to pull him to the side and say, okay, I get it that $7,000 may not be a big deal on this budget. However, is there another way to get this? Can we just go in a little tighter on the scene? Can we switch sides and use, a bridge which had a higher, we were trying to get moonlight is what it amounted to. But it was just like this trickle-down effect that was just costing more money and more money and more money. And we were able to figure it out and not spend that money. So it's great if you can get a little experience in all these different places. If you have a little experience editing, then you know what shots that you have to get, right? And so one of the best tips I can give you is, if you have an editor, get them on set with you. Because if you can see the shot, if you can see it put together by the next day, it's wonderful. And if at the time you're going, I think this is going to cut, in my head it's going to cut, but I'm not positive, and you can go and have that conversation with your editor, it's such a blessing to be able to do that. So I love having my editor on set. And then when I want to break rules, like if I want to cross the line or, use some new equipment that I've never used, or I want to break the fourth wall or anything like that, I can go and talk to him about it. I'm like, what do you think? Because, we are crossing the line. It's going to freak out people when they look at the screen, and things are going to be flipped a little bit for them. But I think the motivation is there to do it because we're talking about kind of maybe a chaotic moment. In this case, it was an angel was only seen by one character. So on one side of the line, it was the normal shot where everybody saw everybody. And on the other shot, it was just he's talking to a blank space. But crossing that line gave us this distorted but yet realistic image because it was like his perspective, the wife's perspective, because the wife never saw the angel. So there's great times that you can find little things like that. But it's if you've got your editor there, then you can talk through that, make sure what you're shooting will make sense and will cut together for you and make a big difference. I think, so editing, writing is a great place to put yourself. Number one, everybody's a writer. You may not think you're a writer, but everybody's a writer. Everybody's got a story to tell. Some people do it better than others, and it is a process. I literally only started writing because I was frustrated with what I was being given as an actress. I didn't want to do any of the productions. I thought I wouldn't want anyone in my family to see this, more or less, play this character myself. And it was kind of out of desperation. I said, Lord, I'm going to try this. And the first time was just a complete failure. Like the script was everywhere. But every time you learn a little bit more and you get a little bit better. And then eventually, if you're directing too, now you're writing as a director. So you're writing for what you're going to shoot, which is amazing because when you take somebody else's script, you're taking the words on the page and you have to figure out visually how to tell it. But if you are both people, you're going to write it exactly how you're seeing it, and it's all going to, a lot more of it's going to be on the page than what it could be, right? So writing is a great skill all of us need to have. There's always rewrites on set, particularly with low budgets, right? You get a location, you're like, this isn't at all what we need or what we have, but this is what we have. So how do we make it work? Well, it says that we're going to go down a long corridor and up a staircase. Well, we don't have those things. So what are we going to do? Oh, well, there is this really cool garden out back. We could put it there, and then it's production value. It makes sense. Nobody's going to miss the corridor or so you just have to make those shifts and changes. And it helps you make your budget, and it helps keep your production great. And you look at every place with the perspective of, what can I get out of it? What is the best that this place can give me? So all those cheats help out tremendously when you're doing production. So a micro budget, that's like under 100K is what we're talking? Yep. Are these short films or are they full features? Both? Wow. So like a crew of how many for a full feature on a $100,000 budget? You had 900K. You had 900 people, like cast and crew and extras. That's amazing. You should be leading this. Like, that's amazing that you were able to do that. Okay. So you had a lot of volunteer extras. And volunteer crew? Yes. So that's kind of how we started out, because I started in the beginning with the Kendrick brothers. So we did Flywheel, had no paid people, and our lighting was from Home Depot. And I'm not lying, as it really was. And, one day you're boom operator, and the next day you're makeup, and the next day you're wardrobe, and the next day you're set deck. And, it was just a few people making it happen. Yeah. And then facing giants, we had a lot. Like we filled a stadium, and things like that. So the production value is there, but the only people that were paid initially were the DP's team. Yeah. So you can make it happen. It takes a village, right? Like that's the one message the Lord keeps giving me over and over again. It absolutely takes a village to make any of this happen. And so you pull that village together, you get the churches behind you. We've done productions where church groups, like the different Bible class, they've done like signed up, they brought lunch this day, somebody else brings lunch that day. They basically handle catering for you. um, that's really great. They can also help you get extras a lot. And then if you have a cause behind it, like we did a human trafficking film, and we were able to get a lot of the human trafficking organizations to walk side by side. So not only did they help on the front end and send us people, but they also were there to promote the film for us too. So those kind of things work both sides. But in these little budgets, you're just going to have to wear so many hats and be able to do all of it. So pre-production is your dream. You have to be prepared for anything and everything before you start filming. Because on that type of budget, did you shoot out in like 12 days? Like how fast did you shoot? Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a big mistake, right? Yeah. Yeah. You have to look at every day is going to cost you this much. And then it's your page count is going to, and you can't really go by page count. Like I can say I can shoot 7 pages a day, but honestly, it depends on the setups. How many setups are going to be in those 7 pages, right? And then this last film, I think we did 12 pages in one day. Because I know after lunch we started and we still had 7.5 pages to go. So, so then it's like, okay, your setups have to be less and your shot list has to be simplified, right? But all those things add to your budget. How many of you are familiar with making a film budget? Yeah, out of necessity, or is this your gifting? A little bit of both. Yeah, yeah. And then how accurate do you think you are when you finish? Like, are you coming in under budget? Are you finding a lot of holes in your budgets? Yeah. You do. And it's like, how did we ever do that for that little bit of money? Yeah. The first film I directed, I think, was $80,000. We shot for 21 days. And I shot way more pages than I needed to. Like I should have whacked that, but I was the writer and I was attached to every word on the page and I was determined to get it all in. And then so much fell on the cutting room floor because it was 121 pages is what we shot. So that was a lot. I told you I've been learning. We all learn every time we do it. We've been learning so much. But we were able to do 80K because it was only like one paid position on crew, and then we had just volunteers from multiple churches that helped out, and friends and organizations, and just a lot of favor. The location favor, everything favor. You just need it, absolutely. But it can be done. But once you get your budget up, it's hard to go back. It is hard to go back down, isn't it? Like, yeah, and it just keeps growing and growing. So I get it. One of the biggest challenges that I see as a director is not content. I'm seeing plenty of content that needs to be made. I'm seeing plenty of great crew people to come alongside of you and do it. The challenges I'm seeing, I'm wondering if you are too, is the distribution side. Figuring that out, I just don't feel like there's still not enough paths for faith and family distribution. And I feel like there's too many, checks. Well, hello, Justin. I you, okay, good deal. I paid him greatly to say that. Thank you, Justin. So I feel like there's still not enough lanes, right? There's still not enough places that can take distribution from Faith and Family and do something with it. There's still not enough streaming. The streamings that are out there put so many stipulations on us. You know, one, you can't say God, you can't say Jesus. The other one, you have to say God, you have to say Jesus. You can't really be funny. I mean, it's like it's the lanes, you know, it's just it makes it really tough for a creative to do the story and tell the story that you want to tell. And so all these little checks on the box that you have to have. You have to have an A-lister. Okay, no, you have to have 2 B-listers. Okay, we don't really care what you have, but it's got to be, you know, the content has to be this, this, and this. So you deal with all of that, and it can get frustrating. It can be very hard. All I can say to you is you have to decide on the front end. You know, am I going to make the movie that the Lord has called me to make? Off of the pages that the Holy Spirit has given me, like, am I going to make this film and get it done the way that He's making a way for, or am I going to let man tell me I have to do this and this and this and this, you know? And I mean, we all want our films out there. We absolutely do. But at the end of the day, what movie are you making and why are you making it? So this is how we get back to godly perspective, right? If you feel called to make a project and you feel very called to what is on the page and what you're doing and the overall message, then to change that for any organization or distributor, what is the sacrifice that you're making, right? Because the Lord has a heavenly reward for what you're making. So sometimes you just have to die to it and you say, Lord, if only one person gets this, then it was worth making that, right? But you have to lay all that down at the altar, and you literally have to leave it. And we have to do it every day. You know, you want to pick it back up, you want to make things happen, and then you lay it back down. And it can be the most frustrating thing. But at the end of the day, the Lord's going to do it on His timing. He's going to do it His way, and He's going to put it in front of the people that He has ordained it to be. Exactly like it was when you were making the movie. You know, your cast came together because God wanted each of those people on your set. Your crew came together because God wanted each of those people to be a part of your journey. So to not trust that for the distribution side would be foolish, right? But it's all about patience. Not a word we all like to hear, right? So, yeah, I know. So that's walking in the peace of the production with the Lord. Like, how can I walk through this peacefully? How can I walk through this with great confidence, knowing that He's going to have it always at His own timing, and I'm going to trust that. So I feel for everybody that's in this room. We all walk through that, whether we're uber successful or not, because we all hear no's and we all hear it would be great, but it would be fabulous if. We all hear those things. So don't think you're an individual that's just being circled. You know, no, you're not being targeted. It is across the board. It's what we deal with, you know. And all I can tell you is before you say yes to any project, give it to God and say, this is yours. We'll do it your way, right? And then I think you're going to have just a very fulfilled, very peaceful, very productive, and very rewarding experience, regardless of the outcome of it, right? So, okay, so how can I help y'all? So I think I'm going to go to my worksheet and, you know, look, when you talk about what makes a great director, obviously all of us go to, you got to be a great storyteller. If you cast, you know, really well, then 90% of your job is done. We've all heard that. It is so true. It is really hard when you take on a project and they say, yes, we want you to direct, but this person, this person, this person, this person, this person comes with the cast, because you've just lost the ability to put people that you might truly believe in, and now you're working with others. So that can be a challenge, And you just have to know it up front. And what I would tell you is to make sure you have extra time to be able to work with those people to get the rhythm, right? To get everything the way that you want it. Because every project almost comes with that, always. But casting is my jam. Khaki knows this. I love casting. She loves casting. We love finding the nuggets. We love finding the dream people that just bring your movie together. I mean, Kate was on set, and Kate was able to see her words come off the page and then visually just come to life in a magnificent way because this talented cast that we had for Into the Spotlight, like, it was phenomenal what they were able to do. So they took her characters from the page and just brought them to life right before. I mean, it was a cool experience, right? Yeah, it is such a cool experience to see these talented, and when you get these talented actors, like, it's all over your face, right? Like, I got this one picture from set. My hands are up like this, it was right after a take, and I know I'm probably yelling, winner, winner, chicken dinner, and perfection, moving on. Like, you get so excited, right? You're so in the moment with these actors. Here's the other thing, though. When you're not getting what you want, do not let it show all over your face. And I have no poker face. I don't know about y'all, but I have no poker face, and I have a laugh that's my nervous laugh. That Khaki knows. Like, she calls it every time. She's like, that's not the laugh I want to hear. Yeah. It's, yeah. But, you just need to keep it together and know that you can get the performance, right? It's up to you as the director to go in, step in, let's figure it out. How can I talk to this actor to get what I need? What is it going to take? And sometimes it's just a dialogue thing. Sometimes the dialogue is clunky and they just can't say it the way it's written on the page, Sometimes it's just too much dialogue. A lot of times, and we had this on the last film a lot, the dialogue was a lot. We had several, 7, 8 pages. And I'm just giving the writers a hard time. I'm like, who are you people writing 7-page scenes? Like, what is this about? You're killing us. But it gets repetitive, right? So they would say a line, and then you go 5 lines down, and it kind of said the same thing, and you go 5 lines down again. The actors were getting lost because of the repetitiveness. So we had to go in and just tweak it on the fly and say, okay, don't say it here so you remember to say it here. So sometimes it can just be the clunkiness of dialogue. Other times they're just not getting the vision. And so how, as a director, do you talk to them to help them get the vision, So I was working we had a BC storyline in this last film. And for Mary and Joseph, I thought this was the coolest thing ever because I really have not thought about Mary and Joseph in this way. Like, how many of us have thought about, like, if you took Mary and Joseph, put them in present day, like right now, and like Mary having that conversation with Joseph, or Mary telling her mom about the conversation with the angel, or any of that, it's just like, wow, you have so much empathy and compassion and understanding of what they must have gone through. So this was my first, like, transparent view into this whole world. And I was so impressed with my 2 actors. Isabel Almoyen played Mary beautifully, just so organically. She was such a loving, gentle, beautiful Mary. And then the character, the guy that played Joseph, his name is Gray Acuna, which is the coolest name on the planet. I don't know where he got it, but it's super cool. And Gray, y'all know Gray? He's amazing. Gray brought so much vulnerability to the character of Joseph. He showed us all the levels. He showed us the humor. He showed us how much he loved her. He showed us how, he couldn't live without her. He showed us how broken he was when the news came out. He showed us how he struggled with, the humility that he needed to be able to have his baby birthed in the manger. I mean, it was just, he hit everything. And it made me so happy I'm crying on set. Like, it just, honestly, it was such a beautiful thing to see. But when we got to the scene where they're taken to the stable, and Gray took it to an angry place. He's like, he was embarrassed. He was a man. He's supposed to take care of his family. He's supposed to protect them. And here they are sleeping with animals. Like, he took it to an angry place. And I said, Gray, if you can take it to a place where it's humiliating for you, and it's disappointing for you, and it's heartbreaking because your heart is breaking for your family, because you're there to provide for them, and now you're having to deal with this. And if you can take it to a place where you're about to lose it in front of your wife and you don't want to cry in front of her. And as soon as he internalized that and read that, then we had gold. Like, it was just the most beautiful moment, because it was no longer him walking out on his wife to have a moment for himself. It was him trying not to fall apart in front of her. So he was taking a moment to hide that from her, which made it just so authentic, so transparent, so organic. I mean, it was just beautiful. And as directors, it's up to us to find those beats, find those moments. Where can we find that magic? We had so many moments like that on set that were so great. But and we did on Into the Spotlight too. We had to find those moments. It was like, what's missing on the page, you know? And you kind of got to ask yourself that as you go into directing, as you go into the production process. Like, is there anything missing on the page that our audience is going to want to see? Is there more backstory to these two characters, you know, that people are going to want to see? Because if there is, we need to find that moment to include that. You know, as much as this story talked about Mary and Joseph, it never had a moment where he touched her belly, where he talked to the baby. Little things like that really make it just so enchanting for your audience, but it was never on the page. So you just got to, you know, you're wearing so many hats. This is the thing about directing. You're never just going to be a director. And if you're tunnel vision and you're all about, this is all I have to focus on, y'all have to worry about everything else, to me, you're going to always end up a little short. You've got to think beyond that, because the full storytelling visual story incorporates all the hats, right? Every bit of it. And you want to make the most of every moment of production that you can. So that's why sometimes you need to be the accountant. Sometimes you need to be the producer, because you need to ask yourself, like I did the other day, do I want to spend $7,000 on that, or do I want a bigger extra count on the day of the wedding? Well, no, I wanted more extras than a light. I wanted my extras, you know. So you've got to think about production value across the board and what's going to give you the most on that day, right? So wearing all the hats will help you do that. You got to be a multitasker. You really can't be a tunnel vision. And you got to be a champion for everybody. A champion for your DP, a champion for your first AD, a champion for your actors. Please be a champion for your actors. I think that's why I stopped acting. I loved acting. It was my first love. I wanted it more than anything. But every time I got on set, it was like a fearful thing for me. Am I going to disappoint the director? Am I going to not measure up? You know, it was all those fears. And if I had had a director that really poured into me, that really believed in me, that really, you know, trusted me, then I think I would have continued with that. And so I think that's one of the reasons the Lord has made me such an actor's director today. I've walked in your shoes. I feel your pain. I want you to succeed. This is what I want for you more than anything. I want you to succeed and feel great about what you've done. And I want the world to celebrate it too. So love on your actors, set them up for success. If they need a little more rehearsal, give them a little more rehearsal. I take advantage of every moment on set. As soon as the lighting, I work ahead of time with my DP, my first AD, so they know exactly what's going to be happening the next morning. They know exactly what the whole day is going to look like. And I can go to them and spend 5 minutes and go, remember, we need this here. We need a C80 here. We're going to do 2-shot here. We're going to flip the world here. And then I can leave them and I can go be with my actors. Okay, let's run lines while you're in hair and makeup. Let's just do it. Let's just, get it all out. Because then all the nervousness of showing up on set and having to regurgitate these lines cold is gone. We've just run it in the makeup room. We've got the rhythm down. you're just taking advantage of every moment so that you're not having to slow down production days, right? And everybody's time is valued. And so who loves that more than anybody? Your whole crew. Like they're just so happy that you're keeping the ball moving, keeping things moving forward. Hey, Terry Middleton, one of the most amazing costume designers ever on the planet, walking in. She's so precious. Um, and then, so you're going to keep the ball moving forward and you're going to keep everybody happy. But that extra time with your actors will so pay off. They will love you for it. You're going to work out any quirks. You're going to find where a line's not working. You're going to find that moment that's missing. For instance, Spotlight, we had a couple of great, just awesome moments that weren't in the script. But one moment was just totally organic through the actors. They had this cute little flirty kind of, I don't know, rom-com moment. And they took it to a place where they played with the food, the whipped cream, right? And it was so cute, and I loved it. But then I was like, okay, but we have a food gag in the next scene. Now how are we going to do that food gag too? So we were like, okay, well, what's missing? Well, they never had this scene that lets you know, like, what the history, how long these people have known each other. So they were supposed to know every fact about each other, right? So they did this whole little scene with just name my favorite this, my da-da-da that, and it showed you that these two people had been connected since they were young kids. So, you just got to fly with it. You just got to always stay on top of it. But it's not you, it's the Lord, right? So I always say that was never us. That was the Lord prompting us with these moments. It's always the Lord, but only if you're sensitive to him. If you go to set and you think you have every answer, you're never going to hear from the Lord. You're never going to find those gems moments that could mean so much, make so much of a difference in your film. So always, be willing to listen for a moment to the Holy Spirit and make sure you're getting exactly what you want. Okay, so we can open it up for questions because how long do we have? Do we have till 2:15? Or 2? Or 3? What is it? I don't know. No, it's 4. Oh, I'm looking at that clock. So we started at 3. We're at 4. We have till 4. So what time is it now? Okay. So we let's take a couple of questions, and then I'll just give you a few words of encouragement. But I've tried to just regurgitate a lot of stuff onto y'all. But okay, does anybody have any questions on anything? Yes. Oh, that's such a great question. Well, we're laughing because we just did a musical and weeks away we had no. Yes. Oh, I will totally do that. Okay. So the question is, when do you incorporate music and your score and work with your composer? And I laughed hysterically because we just did a musical and weeks away we had no music. We're like, don't we have a song for this thing? Well, yes, we need a song. We don't have it yet. It's coming, I think as soon as possible. So when I write, I have score playing. So I put my headphones on and I pick a score and I'm literally writing to a feel, right? And then I'm talking to my composer ahead of time. And I'm already giving hints like I want a melody that's kind of like this, for this character. And I want to hear this every time we see that, because I like the foretelling of what the music does. I like that in the edits. I think it's great when you can hear a character's theme music a little bit before you see the character. I love that in the transition of the edit. So it's not an afterthought. It is on so many people's productions. It should not be an afterthought, and you should protect those dollars with everything you have, because the post-production dollars can disappear on production and then you're in a lot of trouble. So do not short staff your composer or the music that you feel. Now, obviously, you don't have to have full orchestra anymore. A lot of things. I still like an orchestra. I still like that recording. I'm old school on that, but if you can't afford it, it's not going to kill your movie. Like, people probably won't hear it, right? And you can also go acoustic. There's lots of things you can do to keep your budget down. But you need a gifted composer as well as you need gifted songwriters. And that's not necessarily the same person. Most of the time, it is not. You're either a composer or you're a songwriter. A lot of times, you're not both. So, know the gifts and talents of the people that you have in front of you and make sure you're setting them up for success. Because if songwriting is a lot harder for them than the composing, why don't you let them run in their lane and find another songwriter, so that they're not so fragmented and that everybody brings the best to the table. But yes, protect those dollars with everything you have and bring it in as soon as possible. Score, we all know score makes a movie. Like, I don't like movies without score. I put 80 to 85% of my film will have a score in it. I have to take away some, but I'm going to overscore on the first cut, and then I'm going to pull it back, right? Because for me, music is that sensory that triggers things. So it's always going to be super important for me, right? You can remember the first time you had a dance. You can remember the first time this song played. You can remember what you were doing. Like, it's a sensory thing for me. And so it's always going to be uber important for me. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, no? Yes.
Okay, so what do you do to keep like a Christ-centered work environment on set?
So great. Especially, okay, so I'm going to repeat that question. Her question was, how do you keep a Christ-centered feel on set? And especially when your whole cast and crew may not be of like-minded, right? They may not be there in their walk with Christ. So you set by example. If you set, it's like, when people say, when I'm near you, I feel the love of Jesus. That's what you want to do, right? You may not be quoting scripture to them. You may not be taking that moment to pray over them, but you want them to know that you have the love of Christ for them. You honor them, you respect them, and you want them to feel the love of Christ in every moment on set. So you set that tone. Normally we do pray on my sets. Sometimes it's not everybody, it's not all crew, but there's praying going on set. So that is it is a presence that's there. People see it. They may not participate in it, but they see it. And what's really amazing is I always feel that when you have crew, particularly that do not have a relationship with the Lord, they walk away and they go, I had the best set experience of my life, and I don't know why. It was not the best paying. It was not the best anything, but I had the best set experience I've ever had. And that's when you have shown them the love of Christ. You have shown them that you can love, respect them, honor them, and lift them up and set them up for success. And that's what everybody wants, to just be loved on and appreciated, And your set experience is it's family, right? Like, you walk away and you're like, these people are immediately my family, and I don't want to be apart from them now. So you're just thrown into this bond immediately. Like, day one, you've gelled, and now you bonded, and now you're hanging out after you cut for the day. You're going out to dinner together, and that's when you do have a great set. Like, when people don't want to separate at the end of the day, like, that's a clear sign they're loving what they're doing and they're loving working with you, right? But because it is that family unit, man, you just want to give it everything you can, so that you just want to pour into those people, just like you pour into your own children, pour into your parents. It is that same amount of love that you want to give them. Does that make sense to you? Okay, cool. All right. Yes. So, okay, the question is basically what do you do with tension on set, whether it's between crew, cast, whatever, right? And yes, we've probably all been in those situations. I had a screaming AD one time, and I was like, I will never, ever have that again. Like, it was terrible. I was like, I didn't know anybody could scream on set like that, but we were all terrified of him, absolutely terrified of him. So, that is the first thing that I say to anybody when they're saying, well, we've picked an AD. I'm like, is he a screamer? And they say, no. I'm like, okay, then he's acceptable. That will be fine. That's literally my bar is like right there. I just need somebody who's going to lovingly move us along during the day, right? You just do not want a screamer. So, and then I've had where I've been on the producing side and I've had directors with such blinders on. They're so attached to everything. I think I used this example to y'all earlier, but they're like, I have to have my staircase. It says I have a staircase. We got to build a staircase. And we're like, okay, or we save that $14,000 and maybe we, use this beautiful courtyard in the back and let's block it there. But sometimes there's just no bending. Like they see it on the page. And if you're going to be, you better have the just unlimited budget if you're going to be that, rigid. So it's really about making the most out of everything that's in front of you. But yeah, I don't like screamers. Screamers are not allowed. And like when you have children on set, that's a whole nother level that you got to talk. There is no swear jar. There's just no swearing. That's where we are. Don't say a bad word. I don't care if you drop something on your foot. We can't do it. Like we've got to set the right example here. So it's just kind of in a loving way, making everybody aware. So usually on set, if we have little children, we'll make an announcement. Be very extra careful today. We have little ones on set, Yeah. We don't want them going home to their parents and saying something like that because of a set. I think you were next. Yeah.
I have to remember my question. Oh yeah. As a writer director, I
Yeah.
struggle more with the technical side of things, specifically lighting. So do you have any tips or resources in learning how to have vision for those things? Because I can rely on my technical people, but I feel like I need to have vision for my writing.
Yes. And you're not going to know all the terms for lighting, and that is okay. What you do have to cast the vision for what you're wanting. So when you read a script and when you're thinking about how we're going to tell this visual journey, you really need to find some examples of that. Okay, I see this as the look and feel of this film. I see the lighting as this film. I like this blue here. I like it, warmer tones here. You have to give them screenshots or great examples. If you can just give your DP screenshots of what you're wanting to, it will set the tone for everything. They're like, okay, got that vision. I'm on board. I can make that happen at all times. And if it changes in your script as your story progresses and you need a strong shift, make sure you give that example as well. But you can just use whatever's out there, whatever films, and remember it. Remember when there's something that you loved. Like camera movement is my big thing. Love camera movement. So obsessed with it. Just got to use a snorri cam for the first time. Y'all all know what a snorri cam is? So a snorri cam is a camera that fits on the body. And so it really shows the anxiety of the character, so to speak. Or it can be used if the character's having to run away or whatever. But this character got all up in his head and got really upset because he saw an angel. And so I had him wear the snorri cam, and it was so fun. But, camera movement is huge for me. I really think through my transitions. I don't think directors do that enough. If you can't just have a cut and then a stagnant cut, like it doesn't work. Like you really have to think through your transitions. And we were working on this one big montage, and I just wanted it to be beautiful. So I'm thinking, okay, Mary's looking left here, Joseph's looking right here. Then we're going to go up to darkness. Then we're going to be at the sky on the star. And then we're going to come down. He'll be on his knees. She leans down. Like it is choreography. And you really have to, it's not just about what's on the page, it's about how you connect what's on the page. So I don't think as many people think through that. That's a good one. Okay. Did I answer your question at all? Okay. Yes, Sam. Okay.
The director really changes the script a lot. It was a tight script.
Yes.
and they had financiers who approved it. So how do you talk to the director?
When they're shifting it.
Yeah, and it's fucking it up.
Right, right, right. So you really have to I usually ask for the writer's permission. Like, can we shift this because you have to be honoring of what's on the page, especially if it has been approved. Yeah. There
When you're a writer and producer, you're like with people, but I don't want any changes. But if they over go from to 150 scenes, you know what I
Wowzer.
mean? Like really,
So that person did not honor you. Okay? They didn't honor your story if that was. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you need to find a director that will honor what's on the page, what you're trying to do, that will honor the journey that the characters are taking. And if they have some ideas on how to enhance the arc, then that's beautiful and that's wonderful. But like Ariel and Trey for Nod on the last project, they had done this on a stage play for years. And so this was an adaptation for film. And so you're talking about people who've been attached to this story for years and years, and like every word of it. And so they were like, you can change anything except dialogue. Dialogue, we have to talk about it. And so every time I wanted to shift a word or a line or delete a line, we just had a moment. May I do this? When the actors were struggling, there was one lead actor, it was just too much dialogue. And I was like, can we shorten? Can I take this and this out? Because they had a chunk in this one scene that was about a character we never were introduced to, we didn't know, and therefore it was hard for the actor to remember it because he's talking about somebody that no one has met. It was like a coworker, but nobody had ever met that coworker. Nobody knew anything, and he was just having a disconnect. And I said, it doesn't take anything out of the story to remove this, but it helps our actor hit all of his beats and remember where he's going in the scene. He was just getting lost in the scene because he was lost in this character that he didn't know. So, those sometimes those adjustments need to be made. But I think it's a conversation that you have with your director ahead of time and just make sure that they're going to be honoring to the story that you're trying to tell and know that they have your back. They want your story told in a way that you want it told, right? Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
what is a fun God moment that really, where you were just up against a wall and you had to kind of take a minute and pray or whatever, and
Yep.
God came through?
Okay, this is a big one because it was only $1 million budget. We were shooting in Louisiana and Greece. We shot all of our interiors in Louisiana. Exteriors were all Greece. Like, that's all we could afford. It was a 5 days, but 3 days of filming. So we traveled on one day. We were filming 2, 3, 4, traveling back on the fifth day. That's all the time we had. That time of year, it was not supposed to be raining in Greece at all. We got there, and the first thing the handler, who's my local producer, my ground producer, said, we're expecting a lot of rain. Now, we've already shot everything in the States. So now continuity would just be out the window if it rained every day. And we were like, okay, well, we're just going to pray this rain away. We're just going to pray it away. Like every day, we're going to pray it away. Literally, we would shoot, we would film, we would leave, it would rain. We would shoot, we would film, we would leave, it would rain. Okay, then on the last shot, the very last shot, middle of the street, I called That's a Wrap on Caged. It was like a cue, like in a movie, like one of those really, we were soaked. We only had to go a half a block to the wrap party and we were drenched. So, and then the actors were like, oh, let's film now because this would be really cool running in the rain. And I'm like, no, continuity would be totally messed up. But it was an amazing experience. There was also one time on Camp Cool Kids where a huge storm was coming up and, I had all the moms because we had all those kids on set. We had like 16 kids that were speaking on this day. So I had all these moms. So I went into this little cabin where all the moms were just like on top of each other, and I said, "You're going to be my prayer warriors. We need this rain to go away to make our day." They started praying. We just watched. We just kept watching the radar. It kept shifting and shifting and shifting, and it never came to us. So, I mean, if you don't think prayer doesn't make a difference on set, it makes a huge difference on set. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We had to shift a cast member, and we had a weekend to do it. And we found the perfect person. Yes, yes. And it worked out perfectly. You know, God's always got your back. Even if I have my nervous laugh, God's always got our back. She's like, "I don't want to hear that, Lisa. That's your nervous laugh." So, any other questions? Yes.
So I work a lot with people who have never been on camera before.
Mm.
So I'm curious if you have any pointers just for, like, I guess, warming people up.
You know, yes. So I would do table reads with them. I would work with them before you ever get on camera for sure. And then I would try and clearly cast the intention of every scene. Because if they're not experienced actors, they're not going to be able to jump like this. And on our budgets, that's what we need, by the way. We need people who just show up and ta-da, it's done, right? So these people, you're going to have to, before you start rolling, you really need to work with them and work with them. Maybe show them some examples of, you know, here's a scene. See how these people are moving in this scene? Like, I want this, and I want y'all popcorn. All my actors know what popcorn means. That means you're going to bap, 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 bap. I want all the lines really fast, regurgitated fast. Keep that energy. Keep that energy. But you may want something completely different, you know. A lot of times, sometimes you just want to take away that dialogue and let the inner, you know, facial expressions of the actor say the moment for you. But you're never going to get that with inexperienced actors unless you put in the time with them ahead of time. But try and cast the vision as easily and productively as you can. So if there's a film that has a similar feel, if there's a scene, like, really visually show them. And then you can also do a take and then show them. This is what you did. This is what we can't do, right? Like, I really need you to do it. We had scenes with extras, and you know, when you have a lot of extras, they're all excited to be there, and we are so appreciative that they're there. But the scene was continuing, but the extras were just stopping what they were doing and watching the scene. They were literally watching the scene, and I was like, you know, we can't have that. Like, you can't just watch. Like, you've got to go and turn here and have a conversation with her, and you need to walk to this store. And, you know, it wasn't clear to them, so I had to really spell it out. You know, this is just be a great communicator and be their champion and set them up for success. Sometimes when it's an inexperienced actor, it's about taking it one line at a time, and it's painful, but you'll get it. You'll get it. You'll get it, right? Yeah, yeah. Okay.